dangers of holding fiat currency. So I put together a little presentation for you guys. There's a lot of turmoil going on and people convincing you to hold cash, and I'm really gonna try to convince you guys that this is not the way to go. There's a lot of things here. First of all, the U.S. debt. So the U.S. debt is spiraling, continually going up. It's at $31 trillion, and we're never going to be able to pay that off conservatively. We're going to need to pay that off through inflation, and that's by printing money. As you can see, I included a historical chart of eggs. It's gone up forever, basically. And same with cars. When cars debuted, they were selling for, under $1,000. They've slowly gone up and up and up. And you're going to see the same thing with assets as well. Assets continue to inflate. And like I said, the way that our system is set up, we can't stop these spirals from happening. We cannot stop spending. We cannot slow things down to a halt. And I'm going to get more into why that is and how this works. But the bottom line is that you're going to want to own something here at the end of the day. And if you look at the historical price of the S&P 500, it's always gone up. Sure, there's little blips and whatnot going down, but you don't want to get stuck holding something that's going to eventually be worthless here. And that's why I'm going to be getting into the S&P 500 to Bitcoin chart here in a second, because at the end of the day, if you're holding a fiat instrument like the S&P 500 and you buy it for $200 and you sell it for $200,000, it's not going to matter if that money is worthless, right? If people are burning your money because it's so worthless, if there's hundreds of $1,000s laying on the street, it's not going to matter if you sell your Apple stock for $200,000, because that $200,000 is going to be worthless. So when the money is worthless, there has to be something to take its place. And if you fail at one currency, like the dollar, if you fail at making that work, how are you just going to then create another thing and say use it? You have to find a way to get people to buy into a currency. And is that what's happening with Bitcoin? In a way, there's some misinformation, people telling you that governments are against it. Is that a ploy to get people to buy into a currency that is going to take place of this failing fiat system? So at the end of the day, who's in power and what do they want? Okay, so it's not money, right? Money is just a way to facilitate transactions. It's a way to buy things, right? So at the end of the day, the people in power, they want assets, they want things, they want land, okay? And central banks and banks in general, what you'll see is that they squeeze the economy and they collect assets for pennies on the dollar. Okay, so when you put 10% down on a house, the bank pays the other 90%. And then when you can't pay your loans, they collect your asset for pennies on the dollar. Okay, and they manufacture recessions, lay people off. They cause people to get into situations where they cannot pay loans. They collect your assets for pennies on the dollar. Central banks and banksters have existed for hundreds of years, and they've battled with governments. Governments, on the other hand, there's a lot of corrupt governments. Think Venezuela. They exist purely for their own profit. So they have the power to print a currency, and then before inflation runs through the system, they will buy assets. They will print money, buy things, and then the money becomes worthless. They end up with things, okay? So governments, in a lot of cases, they give central banks authority. So they sort of have to work together to keep each other happy. You talk about corporations. Corporations exist to make things. You need corporations. So corporations have their own power in that they're needed by central banks and governments as well. And they try to create higher stock prices, which benefits the people at the top. So they like printing money as well. So at the end of the day, what you get is a combination of the three: governments, corporations, and banks. They are all working together. That's what you see with COVID. You see businesses creating laws for their own benefit. You see world leaders at the World Economic Forum working with business leaders, working with bankers,